Welcome back to the show, guys. Today we got another exciting episode of California Sober, baby. This is a part two. I split the part one from the part two just because it went on longer than I wanted it to go. I wanted it to just be 5 minutes of me talking about fight news. I think I got to separate fight news versus stuff I want, actual subjects I'm going to talk about. But anyways, this episode, as you can see, I'm still wearing the same clothes, so it's a continuation of part one. But on this episode, I'm going to be talking about the Strickland versus Alex Hernandez fight. Man, was that card just overall a great card, dude. I'm curious to know how many KOs they had on that card. Before I get into that, let me just finish my intro. California Sober, this is your host, Mo. Kind of was a little rushed today just because I got dinner plans with lunch plans with my family. It's still Lunar New Year. Didn't even roll anything to smoke, so I'm going to be hitting the Stiz pen today, just so you guys know I'm still getting high, just as always. Curious to know if I hit the Stiz pen, if it's going to help in the algorithm, actually. So this is actually going to be a good test. But yeah, Alex Hernandez versus Sean Strickland, that's going to be in the works. That's what I'm going to be talking about. There's some other fights. Here, let me just pop off some other fights that I'm going to say, just so you guys know. Chidi versus Carlos Leo. That was a great fight. All of the guys I'm going to talk about were great fights, dude. Who else do I got? Zachary Reeves versus Michel Pereira. I can't pronounce his name. I want to say Pereira, but it's Pereira. I think it's pronounced differently. Let's just say Pereira. Smith versus Harrell. Dan Ige versus Costa. And Geoff Neal versus Uros Medic. And then obviously the main event. I didn't really this is all mostly of the main card fights, besides one of them was a prelim, which I think was the first card, with Chidi versus Leo. I just threw that in there because, honestly, I'm a fan of Leo's. This is, I believe, his second fight in the UFC. His first fight didn't go too good, but he looked good in it, even though he lost. So when I saw him on this card, I was like, I want to talk about him just because I like his style. So anyways, let me take a hit of this pen. I feel like I'm talking fast. Oh. Anyways, with all that being said, let's get started. What's up? I already did the intro. Actually, you know what? Let's just do this intro. I'll cut that other intro out. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of California Sober Podcast, baby. I'm your host, Mo. And man, the UFC just set Houston on mother effing fire, baby. We just witnessed one of the best fight nights we've had. Probably the best fight night of the year. No pun intended. I think it's like the second or third. Strickland versus Hernandez, man, it was pure chaos from the prelims to the finale. It was a good card, man. Honestly, the UFC has been doing good with these Paramount cards. I feel like the changes they've made and they implemented has been really good. Oh, one thing I wanted to look up is I was curious to see how many KOs they got on that night. Should I just ask Gemini? Let's go all in with the Gemini. I'm using Gemini now too, by the way, guys. That's just my new thing. How many KOs were there in the last UFC Fight Night card?
The last UFC Fight Night card had several knockouts. The main event was a TKO, and there were also 3 other KOs or TKOs on the main card. Are you interested in specific fights?
3. That's 4 KOs on a main card. I think that only one fight. I think that means all of them went KOs. I wrote it down, so we'll talk about it when we get to it. I probably should have prepared a little bit better, but like I said, I did another segment and then now I'm doing this one. So your boy been busy. But anyways, we got a lot to talk about today. Talking about Sean Strickland returning from his time out. He basically got suspended. He got a 6-month suspension for punching a guy in the crowd. Basically, he was cornering a guy. He was cornering someone. Something had happened. I think his fighter had lost, and he lost and then Sean Strickland got in there. The other team started talking smack on Sean Strickland's team, and he ended up basically punching I don't remember if it was the fighter that fought his guy or someone from the team. But yeah. Also, we're going to talk about referee. There was a referee who apparently forgot they were in charge of human lives, dude. I can't remember which fight it was, but I think it was the Harrell fight. Oh my God, that was just one of the worst stoppages. And we're breaking down the madness that is Michel Pereira. So grab a drink or grab a joint and let's get freaking California sober and dive into this freaking violence. Uh, let me first. Actually, you know what? I'll bring up the Sean Strickland stuff when I get to his fight at the end. First fight I'm going to talk about Chide and Chikuni. I can't pronounce his last name. I know the N. It's you say it by itself, so it's N Chikoni. I believe is how you say it. Versus Carlos Leo Muay. This was a Muay Thai war, baby. This is one of the reasons why I want to bring it up. So let's kick things off with this fight, right? So this was a classic style makes fights matchup, right? You got Chide, who is like a human skyscraper. Dude is so tall for his division. I saw him like throwing jabs, and they look like they were like the same length, if not longer, than Leo's kicks, dude. And we got Leo, who's a Muay Thai wrecking ball. He literally puts Muay Thai champ on his paperwork. When he walks out into the octagon, they literally announce Muay Thai champion. I love that. That is just respect for the game. He's Brazilian though, so I'm gonna say like Brazil has their own style of Muay Thai. It's a lot more hand heavy, but it's very aggressive. A lot of like take damage to give damage. Not a lot of kicks and not a lot of head movement. And him, from what I've seen between him and Vanderlei, not a lot of defense. It's just toughness and grit. But it's a beautiful thing to watch, right? I mean, it's violent as hell. But yeah, round one. Leo came out aggressive as F. Look, I mean, like the second you get it, he got in range, it was all Leo. He's throwing freaking leather at Chidi, constantly punching him. Chidi was kind of trying to do his thing. He was trying to stay on the outside, stay dangerous. He was working on his back foot, which he kind of is comfortable doing because he's just so tall anyways. But Leo just would not let him breathe, bro. He was working the body like it owed him money. Chidi landed a sharp cross in the first round that ended up cutting Leo, but it didn't slow him down, man. And honestly, you could see that Leo was visibly like uncomfortable. I mean, I'm sorry, not Leo. Chidi was visibly uncomfortable. The first like minute, he was just kind of like he was kind of backed off a little, and he just was blocking, and you could tell he kind of was. The game plan he came up with at that moment was let me just shell up, let him get tired, or look for an opening and strike. After like a minute of him getting bombed on, body shots, headshots, you could tell that like he kind of was like, oh crap, like I'm losing this first round and I got to do something, right? She did. I mean, like I said, he did land a sharp cross and it did cut him, and I think he landed a good knee in that round. But man, yeah, it didn't slow him down. And honestly, when you're fighting a guy as tall as Chidi, it's like you have to. My one advice that I want to give Leo is when you're fighting a taller guy, especially as tall as Chidi, when the discrepancy is like that. I got to look up the stats, dude. Maybe I'll look it up after I get through this. But you when you fight a really taller guy, you have to get in the habit of keeping your hands super high up, like almost above like your forehead, or I want to say towards the top part of your head. The reason being is because the punches are coming down. So if you're used to just blocking your face, you know, if most people will block something like this, a lot of people will block something like this, right? And they kind of just above the eyes. That punch from the taller opponent is going to come downward and split your guard, almost like an uppercut, but coming downward. So my recommendation for you shorter fighters, you got to try to glue your hands up top right here. Glue them up top to your skull. And that way they're hitting the top of your fist and you're able to kind of keep it together a little bit more. You just need this little window right here to see. And I know this from experience because one of my teammates, Drew, he's tall as hell. He's like 6'1", dude. I'm 5'8". Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a discrepancy in height. I learned a long time ago just from sparring him that I need to keep my hands way up here. Just like when you're holding pads for a taller guy, you got to keep them way up above your head, right? You want to mimic their opponent's head, which they're not going to fight a guy 5'8". More than likely, it's going to be closer to their height. So you got to keep your hands way up here. Just like you're holding pads for taller guys, you got to keep your hands up there for your defense. That's my little 2 cents. But yeah, it's annoying and it does get tiring keeping your hands up, but you got to do it. But whatever, dude. I mean, Lau doesn't really have a defense anyway, so it is what it is. But Lau needs to learn to stay disciplined, bro. He really does. I think that if he can be a little bit more disciplined, he'd clean up his style a lot more and he would get more easier victories, right? Because this was kind of a war. Chidi, on the other hand, he should have used his knees more, bro. With Leo is so freaking aggressive and he's just in your face, bro. I think the answer to that is you gotta either not let him come in, use your long attacks, work a lot of jabs, keep him away with your jabs and teeps. Once he comes in, someone aggressive like that's throwing a lot of body shots, it probably would make sense to grab him and clench and throw knees. And he did a few times and they were effective, but I don't know, just, things happen. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the reason I say the knees, they work is because Leo, once he gets into the pocket, there's not a lot of space for the taller guy, especially when you with someone like Chidi who's so long. It's like really hard to hit him, kick him, you know. So elbows and knees once he's into that body shot range. Keep once he's like closer to the outside, jabs and teeps. It's basics, but it is what it is, man. The basics win fights. But yeah, that's basically round one. Round one I gave to Leo just based off of like the aggression. I mean, he did get cut, but I still give it to Leo, right? Round two, Leo started mixing it up in the grappling. I think personally he got a little tired. So I think he was using the grappling to kind of recoup his energy. And yeah, honestly, I think he was hunting for a takedown just to catch his breath. I only saw one of Leo's fights before, and I don't remember him taking anyone down. And someone as big as Chidi, it's hard to take someone down with long legs like that. But regardless, Leo, he ends up landing a savage 1-2. And that wobbled Chidi, bro. I remember Chidi kind of like was on his back foot and started moving backwards. I don't know why though. For some reason, well, I know why. Leo, he wobbled him, but he couldn't really seal the deal, and he ended up just diving for the legs to recover. I don't know. I'm sorry. Chidi ended up diving for Lao's leg to recover. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. This is a smart move. You know, smart move on Chidi. Did not look good in that round. I think round 1 and 2 I would give to Lao. Like, round 1 was kind of iffy, right? Round 3. I mean, dude, to me, I think the first 2 rounds could have gone to Leo, but they were like, because it's hard, like the way I don't like to score off of volume, because to me, I like to score off of effectiveness. Like volume is one thing and you can default to volume, but it's like, maybe because it's like I have that Muay Thai background. It's in Muay Thai, it's like there's volume, but then there's also placement and power, right? And because Chidi did land in the first round that cross, I think it was a cross and a knee to Lao's face that cut him open and kind of stopped him, like stopped his forward pressure. It's almost like that first round is hard to score because because Lao was throwing a lot, but I'm not sure how much was getting blocked, right? It's hard in the moment. But so that's why when we got to round 3, I was kind of like, damn, like honestly, whoever puts a stamp on round 3, they might win that fight, to be honest, right? That was just my opinion, right? And I got to look at the scorecard. So I'll add the scorecard right here. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll do that in post. But yeah, Leo, Chidi, he finally started pressing the pace in round 3. Early on in round 3, he started throwing combinations, kicks. Honestly, what I think changed the game for Chidi was he started using the jab. He started establishing the jab more, and Leo started slowing down because he got tired, because he threw like, I don't know, like, I remember I saw the score, and I think Leo threw like 60 or 70 more shots than Chidi. And honestly, and I think the score count, the punch count is wrong anyways. Like, I feel like it's kind of iffy, but anyways, but yeah, it was honestly, Chidi kind of like, he woke up and get a little pep talk in his corner, but it was a little too late, bro. Leo was running away with with his volume, you know. And honestly, Leo is a savage, because even when he's freaking tired, dude, Leo could be tired, breathing heavy. His hands are always down, I guess, but like slowing down, but he always presses forward. In that beginning of the 3rd round, Chidi was landing good combinations and landing hard, and he pushed Lyle back with his aggression. And Lyle just kept marching forward, right? He got pushed back and just marched forward, put Chidi against the fence. Body combinations, bro. He was just piecing Chidi up with combos, hitting the body, hitting the head. I mean, honestly, the thing I really like about Leo is he mixes his shots up very well. It's almost like he equally goes for the body and the head. I'm not sure if it was just because that was the game plan, because Chidi was so tall. I got to look back on his first fight, but I think I remember his first fight. He was hitting the body a lot. But yeah, honestly, I think if Chidi like opened up in round 1 and 2 the way he opened up in round 3, I think it would have been a closer fight. But yeah, Lau was the winner, man. Carlos Leo via unanimous decision, and that was a great way to open. That was the last prelim, I believe. So that was a great prelim card. I was literally at the edge of my seat. I love the striking, and I respect both fighters, baby. So yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna try to get through this in less than like 40 minutes. So my bad if I go too fast. Next fight I'm going to talk about, Zachary Reese versus Michel Pereira. I can't pronounce it. It looks like Pereira, so I don't know. Pereira, I think is the way you pronounce it. Man, chaos and nut shots is how I'm going to sum this fight up, dude. Honestly, questionable nut shots. But yeah, this next fight, the wild man himself, Michel Pereira against Zachary Reese. Pereira is probably one of the most entertaining fighters on the planet for the first 3 to 5 minutes, honestly. After that, A lot of singles and hands down type stuff. It's a coin toss after round one, dude. Honestly his gas tank. I don't know what it is, dude. I don't know if he parties a lot or if it's just his age. He is a little bit older, but I mean, I remember watching his first fight in the UFC, his debut, and I was like, man, I really like this fighter, but I remember then noticing his gas tank is going to be a problem. And now he's been in the UFC. This is probably like his close to 10th fight in the UFC. And it's the same problem. So I don't know what it is. It could be a health thing though. So, I mean, people got asthma, people got issues, whatever, man. But yeah. And Zachary Reese, if I'm not mistaken, these two guys, they used to actually be training partners back in the day. I'm not sure where, but I remember they were training partners. Zachary Reese is a big guy, dude. He looked noticeably bigger than Pereira, almost like a weight class or two bigger. Kind of has like a Viking type body, honestly. But Pereira, round one, lands a body kick that like literally opened up with a body kick that sent Reese flying backwards. Pereira, he looked composed. Less backflips, more business is what I like to say for this fight, because he honestly does crazy flips and jumps off the cage. He drops Reese at some point in the first round with the right hand while Reese was off balance. I remember Reese tried throwing a kick, I believe it was, and Pereira like countered him. That's the thing. When you go against Pereira, he's so explosive and so fast, you really have to be careful about your shots, because even if they land, well, there's two things that can happen. Right when you swing Pereira, he's just so reactive that he might catch you before you catch him, or if you do catch him, he has the tendency to get you as you're trying to get back on balance. He's just so quick with it, bro. His mind is fast, bro. I don't know, some tweaker stuff. But yeah, he not dropped, but he said, I think he just knocked him off balance off like Reese's kick. And then the drama starts. Reese lands a nut kick. Now look, dude, go look at the tape. It barely tapped the cup. Honestly, it looked like it went just under the cup. The kick itself looked like it landed flush on the thigh, and it looked like it almost kind of slid up after it made contact with the leg, which happens a lot. It is an inside kick, and I have a problem doing that too. That's why I don't really throw them that much. Lately, I've been doing the inside the Japanese style, where you kind of chop it quickly and down, more of a setup for your punches type-ish because of stuff like this. But it kind of barely tapped him, and it kind of was like a delayed reaction. So that's why I was kind of like, he got kicked and took like a second or two before, he kind of like waved it off. He kind of like, asked for some support from the ref or something. But it did happen, and it is what it is. It barely tapped the cup, but Pereira called for a time. I don't blame him though. It's a sensitive area, and honestly, like even a tap kind of sucks, especially kind of dependent on the cup you have. Some cups are more better than others. I recommend Diamond. Let's go watch some videos on Diamond, the Diamond Cup. But yeah, then Reese ends up hitting him in the nuts. Again, that second one was like even more not believable though. I'm going to be honest. That second one, I think it was like a teep or like a front kick, and the top part of the foot landed clutch right on Pereira above the waistline. So maybe the heel it kind of looked like the heel hit the cup as the foot was coming back down. It's tough, dude. It was tough. But yeah, the crowd was upset, dude. And yeah. One thing I did want to notice though is Reese has a problem with keeping his hands down. He'll swing and then he kind of keeps his hands down, kind of like a karate fighter. That does not work against Pereira because, like I said, he's very quick and explosive, and he will find that opening if you keep that hand down. Dude, Pereira, Michel doesn't even need to set up for head strikes. Honestly, he's so fast and his timing is so good that. Like a lot of the times what people do is they'll hit the body like Lyle. He'll hit the body, trying to get your hands down, and then he'll come over the top, right? Michel doesn't need to play that game, bro. He'll just move around, and the second you put your hands down, he's already darting in and landing a strike to your head, whether it's a kick or a punch. You really, when you fight someone like that, you got to just glue your hands to your face, and honestly, just wait till they get tired and fade, bro. That's which shit he tried to do it loud, but didn't work out. So, But yeah, Pereira, he's just fast and he'll counter you the second you leave a gap, That's just, I'm sorry, this was all round one still, not round two. Did I say it was round two? I don't know. Round two, baby. Pereira lands some nasty knees to the body. They're very, very hard knees. I mean, dude, Reese is bruised up at this point, and he's bleeding from the nose like crazy. He was bleeding. I was trying to figure out where the blood was coming from. I didn't realize it was the nose, but it was like puddling, Like I said, dude, Reese round two, hands down. And to me, it just seems like it's a death sentence against Michel, right? Then there's an eye poke. Reese ends up poking. He frames. They have a moment where they clash, and Reese frames, and he pokes Pereira in the eye. once again, I don't know if it was the hardest eye poke, but it did land, and the rules are rules, and Pereira got his break. And honestly, I think all of this benefited Michel because, you know, he has his issues with cardio, and so there's a lot of pauses in this fight, honestly. But yeah, after that eye poke, this fight had more, I wrote, an eye poke, this fight had more pauses than a broken DVD player. Dude, I'm funny sometimes. But yeah, Reese ends up taking Pereira down pretty late in round 2, and he landed some ground and pound, but Pereira was able to get out of it, but he was kind of like breathing heavy, dude. Yeah, but I'm sorry, I wrote something that on a typo right here. But yeah, round 2, end of round 2, Michel started slowing down, breathing heavy. At that moment when they got to the ground, Pereira, I can't remember the position they were in, but I saw Pereira's face. The camera angle showed his face while he was on the ground for a second, and he was visibly just gasping for breath. I don't know. That's just kind of how he is, dude. It was expected. I kind of was bummed that it happened so soon. And I know Michel's been kind of working on his technique. It's like I noticed his recent fights, he tries to stay more calm and pick his shots. And I think that's kind of his way of neutralizing his bad cardio. He's like, okay, like my cardio is bad, so let me just try to stay calm and pick my shots. Still gets tired though. Round 3, total war. Both guys were just banging it out, bro. Honestly, so exciting. Reese actually looked like the fresher man. Didn't even make sense because his face was bloodied. And I think I forgot to add in round 1 and 2, Michel Pereira, he really invested in the body shots. He was punching the body a lot, kneeing the body a lot, kicking the body a lot of very, very good knees. I think after round 2, you saw like a lot of redness around the sternum of Reese, man. And he was getting tired. And so honestly, going into round 3, I was really surprised that he was the fresher fighter. That was a good strategy by Michel Pereira because he understands he has a bad gas tank. So he's like, let me take away my opponent's gas tank early on. Let me just invest in those body shots. And, you know, I think it did good the first 2 rounds, right? Round 3, though, like, honestly, Reese is like a warrior. I think he's got Viking blood in him because round 3, he like rallied his spirit and just came in there like fresh as hell, even though he was bloodied on his face and his body was bruised. His eyes got purple from head clashes. Both fighters like did not want to back up. And so there's a lot of moments where they would charge forward and they would clash heads. It looked like Reese was getting the lesser of the exchange. It might be because he was a taller fighter, so when they clash heads, his head is coming down onto the top of Michel Pereira's head. His face, rather, is coming to the top of Michel Pereira's head when they bash. So maybe that was it. Or maybe it was just Pereira was just landing a lot of good strikes on his face, which he was. But yeah, he looked like the fresher man in the last round, but Pereira was still landing those clean he was landing a lot of clean crosses. The last 20 seconds of this fight was wild. These 2 dudes were just swinging for the effing fences. I will include clips of this fight in post. I'm not going to do it live because I don't know. I'm just not going to look for it right now. But yeah, the winner of this fight was Michel Pereira via split decision. 2 judges saw it for the highlight reel. I don't know if they actually call him the highlight reel. I personally just call exciting fighters the highlight reel. So I'll call Justin Gaethje the highlight reel. I'll call Dustin Poirier the highlight reel. I think that's just a description of someone's fighting style. But yeah, one saw it for Reese. I gave it to Reese. I gave it to Michel Pereira. I got to rewatch it. I don't blame the judge that gave it to Reese though, because he did land some good strikes. I can't remember, honestly. I can't remember. I'm high. I'm high. Oh, I'm like kicking all this stuff. There's freaking wires everywhere. I'm sorry, guys. This isn't my actual setup. I'm kind of have some stuff put away right now. I had to film some other show recently, some other guy's show, so I have some of my stuff just in my bag for my show. But anyways, moving on to Jacobe Smith versus Josiah. I believe, was it Harrell or Harrell? I can't remember if I said this name's wrong. I might have spelled his name wrong. Oh no, it is Harrell. Okay. Why did I think it was Harold? Because I freaking smoke a lot of cannabis. That's why I freaking smoke cannabis, and I watch these things and I get stuff wrong all the time. Don't follow me. People get upset with me in the comments because like I'm wrong about stuff. Let me tell you something, dude. Don't follow my show. Don't watch my clips if you want accurate information. I get stuff wrong all the freaking time, and I do apologize up front, but it is what it is. But yeah, if I could describe this fight in layman's, like not in layman, if I can just in, let's say a clicky YouTube title, the ref disaster, bro. Honestly, this was just this is the worst refing I saw of this year, bro. And I mean, we're barely, in February, but it's the end of February. But yeah, here we go. We got to talk about Jacobe Smith and Josiah Harrell, baby. These guys were both yoked out of their minds. Like, honestly, bro, they looked like freaking action figure stars. This is crazy. Like, I don't know if it's them jeans, bro. You know, them black jeans, bro. Some of these black people be just ripped, bro. It's crazy. And I don't mean that to be racist. I have black friends, and they just don't work out, but they just look so yoked, and it's crazy. I don't know. Maybe I gotta clip that out because YouTube might not like that. But yeah, Smith, super technical, man. His kicks looked dude, everything was crispy with Smith, bro. I don't think I've seen him fight before. So this was my introduction to him. But yeah, he was a very technical fighter. And one thing I like about Smith is he knows when to go on, when to hit the gas and when to stay calm. It's like in the beginning of the fight, you see him, he's poking. And then towards the end of the fight, you'll see him start exploding and coming in. So that's a really good skill to have, right? To your pacing and timing, to be able to pace at different rates, right? That really messes with your opponent too. Like when your opponent is used to just all gas, like with Lyle versus Chidi, like Lyle was just gas 100%, and Chidi kind of understood like block, move, right? And when you start mixing it up, gas, slow down, poke, gas, slow down, poke. Sean Strickland also good at doing that to another extent. But yes, Smith very technical. But yeah, he had good kicks, good wrestling. You know, Smith had great wrestling. He had a reversal. There at the end of the fight, right? There was a point where Harrell takes Smith down, and he really worked for that takedown. You could see that the wrestling advantage was going to Smith because Smith took him down at will, even though he really didn't want to. He was kind of mostly just beating him up. When Harrell finally got a takedown, it got reversed. Like the second they hit the canvas. The second they hit the canvas, Smith reversed the takedown, and he kind of put him in like a crucifix position, and he started landing elbows on Harrell, right? And that's basically how the fight ended, right? Now, here's the problem with the fight. Harrell was out after like 2 or 3 elbows. I think he was mixing, so he had him in a crucifix. He was throwing right hands, by the way, which I think if I'm not mistaken, he's a right-handed fighter, so that's his power side. So he's throwing right hands, and he's throwing punches and elbows, right? And you see Harrell, he's getting hit. His head's hitting his head is getting hit, and then it's bouncing back up off the canvas. He's just in this position where he can't even move his head. It's just bad, right? Harrell's out after like a few punches, like 2 or 3 punches. He's out. The ref at the time, his name is Kerry Hatley. He kind of just stood there, bro. He stood there, let Harrell take some like 12, I believe it was 12 unanswered punches, bro. I was literally screaming at my TV like, dude, ref, stop the fight. Dude's unconscious. Hatley finally stepped in, and he was kind of, and it was kind of weird, and maybe this was in my head because I was upset, but he kind of shoved Jacobe Smith, and he kind of was like, what the F, bro? Like, as if kind of like Smith was the one doing something wrong, when it's like, bro, I'm the fighter. Yeah, maybe Smith probably could have stopped him and been like, hey, dude, what's going on here? Right? But at the end of the day, it's like, dude, the ref's job is to stop the fight. And when you're fighting, sometimes you really don't know what's going on. You're just freaking swinging for the fences. You have him in a good position, and I'm gonna give Smith the benefit of the doubt and say he's not a bad guy, and maybe he wouldn't do that. But to me, I blame Hatley on this. Hatley's the working ref. He needs to be the one that steps in and stops the fight. Horrible stoppage, dude. Honestly, Harrell, bro, he was so messed up. I'll add a clip here, but Harrell was so messed up, bro. He after the fight ends, you see him kind of trying to get up, right? So he puts his hands on the mats and he tries to get up, right? And he's literally like losing balance on all 4, dude. He falls back down and lays down again. Tries to get up, falls back down, and he's down he lays down for another couple minutes. It was so bad. I think he had to go to the hospital. I mean, I hope that didn't lead to any permanent damage, dude, because honestly, I think Harrell's an exciting fighter. He's very powerful, dude. I noticed early on, like when he swings, he freaking hits very hard, and he does it so effortlessly. But ref, dude, I don't know. Personally, I think Hatley what's his name? Kerry Hatley. I think they got to get him out of MMA, bro. I would not allow that dude to ref any MMA fight, Yeah, get him out. But yeah, winner Jacobe Smith via KO. And I hope Harrell's okay, dude. I'm sure he's okay, bro. But he's probably not gonna fight for a little bit. Next fight, Dan Ige versus Melquizael Costa. I don't know if I wrote that guy's name wrong. I just call him Costa. I love Costa, by the way. I've been watching him his last few fights. Very exciting fighter. I like his style. A lot kick heavy. Obviously, that's why I like it. I'm a very heavy kicker. And I'm talking spams kicks. Dude kicks more than he punches, and I like that. 50K Dan Ige, freaking legend, fan favorite. But he ran into the buzzsaw. Ige came out trying to clench and grapple. That was a weird look for him, honestly. Usually he's kind of more on the boxing side. He usually a lot of pressure, a lot of head movement, good footwork. It wasn't doing any of that, dude. I'm not sure if it was part of the game plan or if it was because of after he felt a couple of Costa's kicks, he was like, all right, screw that. But yeah, it looked like he was pretty much worried about the kicks, to be honest, and for good reason, bro. Costa lands a sick up kick in round 1, and that found the chin of Ige. Honestly, Ige looks surprised, bro, and he wore it well, but you could tell it hurt, bro. It's like, the reason Ige looked surprised is because Ige was like kind of towards the outside, and you could see him about to work his way in, and he catches that up kick, and he's like, "What the hell?" Hats off to Ige though, because he ate that up kick and then launched forward, and that's one thing that you got to train these younger fighters, especially when they're newer. It's like you got to train them that the second you get touched, you need to explode forward. 2 reasons: 1, you just lost a point. That dude just got a point on you, and 2. When your opponent can touch you, normally that means you can touch them. Obviously, there's height discrepancies and stuff like that. But I always tell people, look, if your opponent just hits you and it landed, whether you blocked it or not, you just did the work for you. He just got into the pocket. So now you need to charge forward before he can get out of the pocket and get your point back. And that's Dan Ige, like a veteran. He knew what was up. But yeah, after that front kick, a few moments later, Costa lands a spinning back kick, and dude, this is just the final seconds of this was literally the final seconds of round 1. Oh, dude, actually, did he throw 2 spinning back kicks? I think I don't know. I don't remember. I might have wrote that wrong. But he throws a spinning back kick at the final seconds of round 1, lands, and just KOs Ige. That's it, bro. Like, honestly, he hits him, drops him, ref steps in. Ige kind of complained, saying it was an early stoppage. I don't know. I disagree, dude. He looked like he took a lot of damage, went down, and I think he went down and Costa got on top of him and landed some more ground and pounds. Personally, I don't think it was an early stoppage, but I'm not Ige. Maybe to him it hurt, but he was still in there. He can take damage. Who knows? If I was the ref, I would have stopped it, right? But yeah, TKO stoppage. Man, dude, it was kind of crazy how Ige folded. I don't know if what this means for Ige. I don't think this means much, honestly. So you lose a fight, it happens. Costa's a rising prospect. Maybe they can run it back one day. Dude, after the fight, Costa ends up throwing his freaking cup into the crowd. I'll add a clip of it here. Funny as hell. I don't know why he did that. Pause so I can hit the stiz pen. But yeah, love the energy. Absolute savage. Let's get to it. Next fight I'm going to talk about, Geoff Neal versus Uros Medic, the doctor. The doctor is in, baby. Uros Medic. I'm a fan of Uros Medic. His last fight ended like, I think in the first round, dude. I think Geoff Neal, I think Uros Medic, I think he has like the most first round stops right now, or he's like up there with like almost has the most first round stoppage. But Geoff Neal, top tier guy. A lot of people call him a gatekeeper. Maybe I will too. But he's had some good fights. He's fought Shavkat. He's fought Ian Gary. He's fought. Let's actually pull up this guy's fights. Curious to see. Okay, so Geoff Neal, he's fought Medic, that was the L. Fought Carlos Prats, that was an L. TKO round 1. Dos Anjos, he got the dub. Dos Anjos was kind of old right here, but he got the dub in round 1. Gary took a L round 3. Was that a decision? Possibly day out decision. And then Shavkat Rakhmonov took a L. He got submitted. That was in round 3. So he's fought some. He's fought some big names. I mean, he didn't get the dub against them, right? But he's no slouch, bro. Honestly. And he's a cool fighter. He's not bad, bro. I think this was a good. Personally, I thought this was a good matchup, and I do gotta add the UFC is matchmaker. Great job, man. I don't know if it's the Paramount thing, but lately it's been just amazing. Great job. Uros Medic though, honestly, I feel like he's the new king of the first round, man. I mean, both of them. I mean, honestly, like I said, he puts a lot of fighters out in the first round. It's kind of impressive, dude. Like, and it's kind of interesting because he trains right here out of California. I don't think he's a native, but I got love for my Californians. I can't remember what gym he trains out of, but who did he have in his corner? Benil Dariush. He trains at Benil Dariush. Oh, so he trains out of Anaheim. My hometown, baby. Anaheim, California, baby. Kings MMA. I gotta like go out there and try to get some interviews or something. Take some classes. They'll probably beat me up though. It's a tough gym, bro. That gym's known for being violent, dog. But yeah, both fighters they're southpaws, which makes kind of for a weird rhythm, and a lot of fighters, especially a lot of times, southpaw fighters aren't used to fighting other southpaw fighters unless you're like from Thailand, which is very common. So it gets kind of weird when you're in the southpaw position, right? It's like you have the tendency to lead with your backhand, your left hand, because most of the time you fight orthodox fighters that are going to your left side naturally. That's just how you're trained, and so it sets them up to go straight into your backhand, which is your left. So you'll see a lot of southpaw fighters, they lead with their left, like a common combination cross hook cross type stuff, or like a cross into like a left kick type stuff. A lot of singles from the left-handed fighters. You don't really see a lot of long combinations that start with their front hand most of the time. But which is why when I see a really good southpaw fighter, you'll see him actually switch it up. He'll start and open up with his left, but then you'll see him also mix it up and throw combinations starting with his front hand. Just something I noticed, right? That stuff kind of messes you up, right? Hard to time. Anyways, so like I said, sorry, I just kicked something. We good? Yeah. Anyways, dude, what was that even plugged into? Yeah, Medic. Dude, that guy was created for chaos, man. Honestly, creates fire when he fights. It's super interesting. If you watch the fight, there was a moment where they're kind of like on the outside, and then Medic kind of charges in, and he starts throwing combinations, and you can kind of see Neal looking for the right opening, right? And Medic, he kind of frames with his right hand, right? It's beautiful. He frames with his right hand to keep Neal's vision, kind of like blocks and keep his hands up, and then he blasts him with the left hook. He's out before he hits the canvas, man. Honestly, it was beautiful the way he set it up. And it's honestly kind of showed me a lot of Medic's style. Is like he comes in, he creates chaos, and then he waits for you to look for the counter. And once he sees that counter coming, Medic's mind is already racing. Like he's already thinking, like, how am I going to counter the counter? Lean back, frame. In this case, he framed and threw that hook, put him out, bro. And that was a lot. I think his last fight was with the elbow or something similar kind of win, But yeah, honestly, I mean, at this point, Medic has 100% finish rate, I think, in the UFC. So keep your eye on that, man. I'll add some clips. I'm not going to get too much in detail because I'm trying to run through this. But yeah. Oh, actually, we're already at the main event. I've been trying to do these things faster. And so I guess now I'm going to have to add some videos and post. Damn, I should have just done it now. I only got 30 minutes though. Whatever, bro. Anyways, the main event. Little about what I was saying about Strickland, man. Strickland is not a very well-liked guy. He says kind of some things that are racist. A lot of people hate him, especially for this card. He was talking smack on Mexicans. I'm Mexican. These are my Mexican people. I got love for my Mexican people. However, I will state that Sean Strickland does have a good side to him. I've seen him be very nice and cordial towards others. He's got a lot of layers, dude. And I recommend a lot of you guys check out the podcast he did with Theo Vaughn. I think he got released like 2 years ago. It's a very touching podcast. You see Sean Strickland open up. He actually cries for a moment. You can see Theo Vaughn kind of uncomfortable and feel bad. Sean Strickland, dude, a lot of people call him a monster, and I mean, I can see why. But I will say, in order to become a monster, you got to live with monsters, baby. And this guy had a hard life, man. He, from going from dirt broke, abusive father, father was abusive towards him, towards his mother. He had like a grandpa or like an uncle that would watch him that was like straight up like a Nazi type figure who obviously passed those beliefs on to Strickland. Strickland will even tell you that he's like an ex like Nazi type dude. I mean, he says now he's not like that. I don't think he's like that, bro. If you look at his corner, he has like, black people in his corner. One of his best friends is Bella Curtis Blades, right? Is it Curtis Blades? So I think he says racist things, but I don't know if he's actually like racist, right? I think we have to be careful on who we call racist. But is he a good guy? Probably not. I don't think he's a good guy. Alex Hernandez, Fluffy. Man, that guy's been rising in the ranks. I said this a long time ago, and I still feel this way. I think Alex Hernandez would would have a benefit of flying out to Brazil and training with the fighting nerds. I think Carlos Prats and Mauricio Ruffy. I don't know if Ruffy's still in there. I think they could help him out with some stuff, bro. And I said this a long time ago, and I think the reason I said this is because he fought on the same card as someone from the fighting nerds. And in my head, I was like, oh, dude, that would be because Alex Hernandez is good, bro. And I just don't think he's like at the top of the top as of yet. And I just feel like, training with the fighting nerds will help him get to the cream de la creme. And honestly, it's just because the way they approach fighting is they're very analytical. They come up with great game plans. Their coaches, everything's very structured. And that's what I feel like Alex Hernandez needs. I think he needs a little bit more structure with his training, But anyways, let's get into the fight. So, and one thing I want to mention, what I was talking about earlier, Sean Strickland, he's coming off a 6-month suspension, right? So he got fined $5,000 for jumping into the cage at a Tough and Uff event and punching a fighter named Luis Hernandez while he was cornering a teammate. Funny, Luis Hernandez, Alex Hernandez, Sean Strickland obviously has a problem with Mexicans, dog. Damn, my guy. Yeah, so here, actually, let me see if I can find a clip of that. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Found the clip. Let's go. Okay, yeah, that looks crappy. Whatever. Oh no, that looks too crappy. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Sorry, gang. Let's just rewind this a little bit. But yeah, so this fighter, he does that motion to Sean Strickland's crew, and Strickland comes in and with Curtis Blades, by the way, punches him in the face, bro. This is an amateur fight, by the way. You know what I mean? These are Curtis grabs him by the neck. Look at this guy. This guy would get mollywopped by both those guys, first of all. They look like they're in the same weight class, actually. Yeah, so Sean Strickland, he got fined for that event. Plus, they gave him a suspension. I think it's deserved, honestly. It's deserved. You can't have that type of chaos in the ring. I know it sucked what happened. Dude should show a little bit more respect. But it is what it is. This is fighting, and people are, fighters are violent. So it comes with the territory, right? So yeah, he got suspended for that for 6 months. So we haven't seen Strickland in a little bit. He finally got off suspension, signed this fight with Fluffy. And man, was it a fight. So let's get into it. Yeah, Sean Strickland. He is definitely moving towards trying to get on the White House card. He has mentioned he wants to be on that card. This dude loves America, I just, whatever, I respect it. But his walkout music was like some of the most patriotic stuff ever. I wish I could include it, but they're like super weird when it comes to audio stuff, copyright laws. But he came out to this patriotic cowboy pirate rock music. To me, like I said, it screamed trying to get on that White House card 2026. And he's been vocal about it, right? I noticed that. I didn't really notice much about Hernandez. I forgot what he came out to some rap music. But I noticed that early on, and I just made the connection like, oh, White House card. But yeah, round 1, the jab, baby. That was the story, man. Just popping the jab. He landed at least 5 jabs in that first like couple seconds. Like literally before Fluffy Hernandez could even take a step. Like literally the fight started, bumped fist, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Pop, 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 pop. Hernandez hasn't even like been able to download what just happened, man. Hernandez did pretty good early on. He was landing some inside low kicks. I think that's a great strategy against Sean Strickland. When you have someone like Strickland who throws the jab a lot, when you throw the jab, especially when you're overreaching, when you're trying to like, when there's a little bit more distance between you and your jab, you generally will either have to hop forward a little, or when you land the jab, lean forward to get that extra distance, right? This allows low kicks to enter the space, right? And honestly, like Sean Strickland doesn't throw the jab very hard. So if I was Fluffy, I would have ate that jab and just thrown the low kick hard as hell. I think outside low kicks, he puts a lot of pressure. The outside low kicks would make it harder for him to throw the jab later on. Inside low kicks, because of all that pressure he puts on the front foot, you can use that inside low kick to knock him off balance and start setting up other attacks. If I was Alex Hernandez, I would be doing both. Jab the outside. Low kick the outside, then low kick the inside. Mix it up, dude, and then mix up like doing switch knees, right? So you get just mix things up, right? I noticed Sean doesn't really like to be on the inside. He's very boxing heavy. So if you can work your way on the inside and clench, start throwing knees, I think that would benefit you a lot. Sean's actually kind of low-key good at wrestling, and he has very good clench defense. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, low kicks, they really mess with Sean's balance. I don't know why he kept doing it. Fluffy. The other thing too is Fluffy has this like weird thing where he moves his head kind of weird. It's like when he's trying to push forward and he kind of gets a little his technique kind of starts like kind of fading away almost. Not like he's tired, but he gets too like emotional almost. Like I noticed like there was times where he would press forward with his jab and his head would be kind of off the center line and leaning like kind of too far forward. I get like a lot of the times like in boxing it's common to throw that jab and throw it off the center line, throw that cross, throw it off the left center line, but he was like the way he was doing it is like he was so far off balance. I think he needs to clean that up because Sean, he just popped in the jab. So what I noticed is he would move away from Fluffy's jab and Fluffy would drop his head down and then Sean would just catch it. Weird stuff, right? I don't know. He didn't, and to Fluffy's credit, he doesn't do it all the time. It just seems like when he gets kind of like, when his mind gets a little cluttered, these little things kind of happen. And that's what I mean by he needs to train with the fighting nerds because they look at stuff like that, and, and they help correct a lot of stuff like that. All of like the fighting nerds is they got very crispy technique for the most part. But Sean Strickland, man, his basics are just super tight, bro. Hands up, jab. He does these weird flary things with his hand. He's got the weirdest defense, dude, honestly. But yeah, Sean Strickland, he'll piece you up with the basics if your technique is loose. So you got to really like work on that technique. Round 2, Sean just kept up with the pressure, bro. By round 2, Hernandez was getting frustrated and he started chasing Strickland. When you start chasing Strickland, that is a death sentence against a counter striker like Strickland. He loves when people do that, right? And he likes to be in the fire. Sean Strickland, he likes to be in the fire. He has this like Sean Strickland has this ability to like control the pacing of the fight really well. Like, and you'll see guys like start reacting to that. Oh, what happened to my camera? One of my cameras went out. Oh, did it die? Pause. Unpause. Damn, the battery died on one of my cameras. So like I was saying, Sean Strickland has the ability to control the pace, dude. And so you'll see a lot of fighters get frustrated and they'll try to make it a war or try to take that timing back. And it never works with Sean Strickland. He feeds into that, dude. So you need to have a good game plan. You need to stick to your game plan and you need to have your technique tight, your defense especially, because you know that jab and the teep is coming. Bro, look, all Strickland does is jab and teep. It's very basic, dude. So it's like keep your hand up and when he decides to teep, swipe that teep away and counter. And it's like the fight is yours, bro. But it is what it is. And I think part of it too, though, is because Sean Strickland, he's just always there. He's always there jabbing. He's always there. It doesn't give you time to think, which is what important for you to come up with the game plan and stick to the game plan. Don't think. Do not think. Just do what you train to do. That's my advice to fighters fighting Sean Strickland. But yeah. The other thing I wanted to add too is in round 2, something I noticed or I thought would have helped Fluffy. When I watch these fights, I'm always thinking if I was in the corner, what would I tell these fighters? I would have told Fluffy if I was in his corner, you need to start feinting. You need to feint and make Sean Strickland overreach. Because if you don't, you're just going to keep eating the jab. Fluffy wasn't feigning or anything, right? Sean Strickland's doing this, right? But once you start applying pressure, because he's looking for the counter, he starts backing up. He starts putting his hands up. That's the biggest thing is when you start Strickland, when you start attacking, he'll do this wacky inflatable armband thing, move his hands up. It works because when you punch, he just slaps your hand out of the way, right? It works. But that type of defense only works off of like 1, maybe 2 shots, right? If your opponent comes forward with combinations, this becomes a little bit less effective. But to Sean's credit, he understands that. And so while he's doing this wacky inflatable arm thing, he's leaning back or he's stepping backwards or off the center line. That's how his defense works, right? He's got this arm thing, which is actually a good defense because usually when you block like this, it still freaking hurts and you still have the opportunity to come through it. Doing this and kind of like parry, it's basically a parry, right? Using your whole arm to parry, that you're not eating any strikes at all. It's not hurting whatsoever, right? And like I said, then his backup defense is his footwork, right? Walking back in case this fails. So if you fight someone like Sean Strickland, and in Fluffy's case, what he should have done is more combinations, press forward, use combinations, and while you're throwing the combinations, change the angle. So as Sean Strickland's doing this and walking backwards or doing this and looking for the counter, you need to throw the combination, move out the way, keep the combination going, right? Or you got to start feinting. I think feints, just basic feints, would do wonders against Sean Strickland. You start feinting here, right? Feint over here, get Sean Strickland to move his arm this way. Then you come straight down the middle. Fake here, get him to move both arms, come straight down the middle. Fake something with the hand, come up with the kick. I feel like feints would do wonders against Strickland. I do not know why Fluffy wasn't told that. I did see him try to feint here and there, but not really. And I think part of that though is because Strickland gets in your head. He gets in your head, and you lose track of the game plan. You lose track of like fundamentals, and he takes over, man. Round 3. This was all Sean Strickland, baby. His defense was amazing. He actually, I do got to retract what I said earlier. I did forget about this, but Sean Strickland, head movement. He had good head movement in this fight. So I guess that's part of his footwork, right? So, you know, the arm thing, the footwork, and then his other defense that kind of goes with the footwork is the head movement, slips and rolls. He did a lot of slips and rolling though in this fight. He slipped and rolled like he was a freaking boxer on that night, right? Round 3 though, Sean Strickland turned up the heat. He lands a gnarly knee from the clench, right? He lands a gnarly knee from the clench, sends Ruffy kind of like on his back foot, and then volume just landing bombs against Fluffy against the fence, ends up dropping Fluffy, and he finishes the fight, dude. Honestly, it's kind of crazy because the whole fight, Strickland's just doing this, and then teep, jabs and teeps. He's like all singles. It's not even a lot of power behind it. And then it's like once he senses you're in danger, you just see him charge you, and he's like bah, 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 bah. Literally, like, dude, he's hitting the body like 5-6 times. He's hitting the head like 5-6 times, back to the body 5-6 times. You go down, he's right there on top of you. Another like 5-6 punches. I had a word for what it reminded me of, but I can't think of it right now. But that's what happens when you fight Sean Strickland. And that's actually really, honestly, I think Michel Pereira would benefit from training with Sean Strickland, because if he can learn to just stick to the basic, just jab, just kick, and then wait for the opening to explode, I think that would do wonders for Michel Pereira's for his technique. And I think Sean Strickland can benefit from learning from Michel Pereira, because Michel Pereira is so freaking explosive, and that's kind of something Strickland needs a little bit of more, is just being a little bit more explosive. I mean, honestly, he wins fights, but he could be winning them more exciting, baby. But yeah, Fluffy falls, bro. He fell round 3, didn't even make it to round 5. The betting was crazy, dude. The betting was in Fluffy's favor. I don't know how that happened. I was sitting here like looking at the betting, and I'm like, damn, these are literally all casuals or someone that's trying to make a lot of money, because in no world would I have expected Fluffy to win. And that's no offense to Fluffy, bro. You're a great fighter, but like I said, there's just these little things he needs to tune up. And like I think him going with the Fighting Nerds all the way in Brazil, removing himself from everyone down here, I think that would help him a lot, you know. But that's just, you know, my 2 cents. Who knows? But my final thoughts. The post speech that Sean Strickland gave was a little weird, very heartfelt, and something I'm not familiar with seeing from Sean Strickland. I did say though, he's not a bad guy deep down, but he gave a very respectful speech to Fluffy. You know, he just told the crowd how he respects Fluffy. He was saying how he thinks Fluffy's a better man than him. He straight up was like, Fluffy is a better man than me. He's a good husband, a good father. He's a good man. You know, he's a hard worker, and he stands by what things he says. You know, honestly, dude, it shined. I wasn't upset with it, dude. I was like, it was weird, but I was like, hey, you know, that's good sportsmanship right there. During the press conference for this fight, they ended up cutting his mic short. He was talking about, just rambling about all this stuff. I think he thought a reporter was gay at one point, and the reporter's like, I'm not gay. And he started just rambling off. They ended up cutting his mic off, right? So I don't know if that was a Paramount thing. Maybe that's a Paramount thing. But yeah, so then this post-fight speech came, and I was really curious. I was like, was he saying all of these positive things about Fluffy because he meant it, or did Paramount get involved? Paramount's a big company, right? So they're not, it's like the UFC, when they're doing their pay-per-views, it's like they're independent. You could say whatever you want, do whatever you want. But then now that we're with Paramount, or like when they went with ESPN, I feel like censorship starts taking over, right? And I don't know if this is true. Maybe Dana White's like, F that. But I'm curious to know, did they tell Strickland he needed to chill out and be more respectful? Or was this really Sean Strickland? I hope it really was Sean Strickland, because one, I really hope the DFC isn't bending the knee to Paramount. You got to let the fighters do their thing. Dana White straight up says he lets the fighters do their thing. And if it was Sean Strickland, I think, you know, this is a new Sean. You know, maybe he's starting to kind of mature and be a lot less controversial, or try to balance the controversial stuff. Who knows? Who knows what we'll see in 2026, right? For Sean. But yeah, that's it, man. I'll add some clips in post of the fights, as always. But yeah, that's it for the breakdown. What a night for the UFC, baby. Make sure you guys Follow California Sober Podcast on all platforms. I'm Mo. Thanks for watching this episode, and we'll see you again for the next fight.